Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Oh my god, the Indiana Fever are actually making a move here. And not just any move, they're seriously trying to get Pauline Astier. This is the kind of move that tells you something has changed with this organization. They're not just sitting back anymore, they're actively competing. For a while, it felt like Connecticut Sun had this locked up. People were treating it like a done deal. But now, that's not confirmed at all. You've got multiple teams circling: Minnesota Lynx, Washington Mystics, and now the Fever firmly in the mix. And when a major outlet like B-Basket mentions Indiana, that's when you know it's real. Here's the thing, whether they land her or not almost doesn't matter. What matters is that they're trying. That's the shift. For years, this team didn't really tap into the European market. Now suddenly they're targeting a 24-year-old guard playing high-level EuroLeague basketball? That's progress. If you don't know much about Astier, she's a solid, reliable point guard. Same age range as Caitlin Clark and currently running the offense for USK Prague. She's putting up around 10 points, 6 assists, and a few rebounds per game in EuroLeague. That's legit production. And yes, she's coming off the bench for France behind Léa Palau, but let's be honest, there's no shame in that. Palau is a veteran presence, and Astier is still developing. If she comes to Indiana, she's not being asked to be a star. She's coming in as a backup guard, someone who can handle the ball, stabilize the offense, and give quality minutes. And that's exactly what the Fever need right now. What's also interesting is how this fits into a bigger trend. Teams like the Lynx and even the Phoenix Mercury are loading up on international talent. The Mercury just added Valerie Aierre, who is absolutely a starter-level player. These aren't random signings. These are calculated moves to find value. And that's what Astier could be. A low-risk signing on a short deal with upside. If she works out, you keep her long-term on a bargain. If not, you move on. That's smart roster building. Also, don't overlook the fact that Indiana has had exposure to her already. With players like KK Davis being around that same European system, there's a level of familiarity. This isn't a blind gamble. They've seen enough. At the end of the day, this is about direction. The Fever showing interest in Astier signals they're evolving. They're scouting smarter, thinking globally, and actually trying to build depth around their core. And honestly, that alone should excite fans. Now, let's move here. So here's the situation. While almost every other team in the league has basically locked in their roster, the Indiana Fever are still sitting in this weird spot where nobody really knows what they're doing, or more importantly, how much money they actually have left. And that's what makes this so fascinating, because they're not done. There's no way they're done. You don't sit at 9 players and just call it a day. They're signing at least one more, probably 2, maybe even 3, depending on how things shake out with the draft. But right now, everything feels like it's on pause. And look, I'm still a little annoyed about the Phoenix Mercury grabbing Valerienne Aierre. That one stings. That's a legit starter-level player on a minimum-type deal. Size, shooting, defense, versatility. That's exactly the kind of player Indiana could have used. But fine, she's gone. So now what? We know some of the moves already. Natasha Howard is out. They've brought in Tyasha Harris and Monique Billings. Solid additions, no doubt, but it still feels incomplete. And the biggest question mark? Aaliyah Boston hasn't gotten her extension yet. That's huge, because until that number is locked in, you can't fully understand their cap situation. That could be the reason everything else is moving slowly. Then you've got the rumors. Rebecca Allen, or Beck Allen, is heavily linked to Indiana. And honestly, that makes a ton of sense. She's experienced, can stretch the floor, defend multiple positions. She fits exactly what this team needs. But again, it's just rumors for now, nothing concrete. And then there's the Temi Fogg-Denley situation. On the court, she fits, no question. She can play the 4 and 5, brings energy, understands the game. But off the court, there have been whispers, reports suggesting there were locker room issues. If that's true, it complicates things. So you start looking elsewhere. Who's even left? Kayla Thornton is one name that keeps coming up. She had a big year, even made an all-star team recently. But let's be real. She's in her 30s and has mostly been a glue player throughout her career. Still valuable, but is she the long-term answer? That's the question. There are other options too. Myisha Hines Allen is a backup 4. Not bad, not amazing, but solid depth. And depth is something this team still needs. Because right now, you're looking at a front court that's uncertain. Demiris Daftis is back, but last season was rough. Really rough. If she plays like she does internationally, she's a great backup. If she plays like last year, that's a problem. There's also a chance Brianna Turner comes back to fill one of those final spots. That feels realistic, a safe, defensive-minded option to round out the rotation. And then you factor in the draft. One of those picks, probably the higher one, is making the roster. But beyond that, developmental pieces at best. This team isn't relying on rookies to fix their problems. Which brings us back to the big picture. The Fever clearly have a plan, but it's not obvious yet. It feels like they're waiting. Maybe they're hoping prices drop. Maybe they're waiting for a specific domino to fall. Or maybe they're just being patient, trying not to overpay in a market that's getting more expensive by the day. Because that's the other thing. Contracts are going up. Players are getting paid. And if Indiana jumps too early, they might lose flexibility down the line. And that flexibility matters, especially when you're building around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston long term. So yeah, it's confusing, it's a little frustrating, but it's also kind of exciting. Because one move, just one smart signing, can pull all of this together. And right now, it feels like that move is coming. Okay, so this just got interesting. A former all-WNBA player might have just hinted, subtly but not really subtly, that she could be heading to the Indiana Fever. And once you actually look at what she posted, the clues are kind of hard to ignore. She crosses out the Dallas Wings, and then you see those colors, those exact colors. And yeah, you can call it reaching if you want, but Fever fans know what those colors look like. It's not random. And the player we're talking about here is Myisha Hines Allen. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't hate this move. I really don't. Is it flashy? No. Is it the biggest signing they could make? Also no. But is it a move that actually makes sense for where this team is right now? Yeah, it kind of is. Let's break it down. Hines Allen has had a weird career. You've got that one insane season in the Wubble where she made an all-WNBA team at like 24 years old, which still feels crazy to say. And then outside of that, she's mostly been a really solid bench player. And that's fine. That's exactly what Indiana needs. She's not coming in to start over Monique Billings. She's coming in to back her up, bring energy, toughness, and physicality off the bench. And if you've watched her play, you know exactly what you're getting. She's a dog. Like straight up. Strong, physical, not afraid of anyone, one of the toughest players in the league. And yeah, her time with Dallas last season wasn't great, but let's be real. Are we really judging players based on how they looked on that Wings team? Same way we don't overreact to players struggling in bad situations elsewhere. Context matters, because if you look at her broader body of work, there's a lot to like. She rebounds, she defends, she can stretch the floor a bit, career mid-30s from 3, and most importantly, she plays hard every single possession. That's something you can't teach. Even in her stint with the Minnesota Lynx, she was trusted in big moments. And that matters, because if a coach like Cheryl Reeve is giving you real minutes in high-stakes games, that tells you everything you need to know about how reliable you are. And here's the other key point. She's probably not going to cost much. That's huge, because the Fever are clearly trying to stay flexible. They're building around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston long term, and they don't want to lock themselves into expensive deals for role players. So getting someone like Hines Allen on a cheaper contract, that's smart roster building. Now, is she better than some of the other options? Maybe not. Would I prefer Rebecca Allen or Temi Fagbinlay from a pure fit standpoint? Probably, yeah. But we also have to factor in reality. There have been reports, like from Scott Agnes, about potential locker room issues with Temi, and if Indiana is prioritizing culture, chemistry, and stability, that changes the equation. Because everything we've heard about Hines Allen, she's a great teammate, a strong veteran presence, someone who brings energy, toughness, and leadership. And honestly, this team kind of needs an enforcer. Not just someone who plays hard, but someone other teams think twice about going at. Someone setting hard screens, runs the floor, protects teammates, and brings that edge. Imagine her setting screens for Caitlin Clark. That's physical, that's space creating, that's effective. So no, this isn't a perfect move, but it's a logical one. It fills a need, it adds toughness, it likely comes at a good price, and it fits the identity Indiana seems to be building. I don't love it, but I definitely don't hate it. And at this stage of the offseason, that might be exactly the kind of move the Fever need. Tell me what you think. Don't forget like and subscribe.